All right, welcome back, everyone, into another exciting episode of the Point Three podcast. Today, we are going to be giving you our non-spoiler review for Captain America: Brave New World, featuring Sam Wilson as your Captain America, directed by Julius Ona, written by Rob Edwards, Malcolm Spellman, and Dallin Moosin. For all of you fans out there, we're going to throw some numbers at you real quick. At the time of this recording, post opening weekend, we are looking at a Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 50%, a Rotten Tomatoes audience score of 80%. IMDb has the movie at 6.1, and Letterboxd it is sitting at a 2.6. Again, it's a mixed bag. It's an MCU movie. Go figure. But first, we're going to start with some of our non spoiler likes and dislikes and give you some thoughts about the movie. Spider Brando, I'm going to kick it over to you first. What'd you like? What'd you not like that we can share for our non spoiler video?
So I think some of the action scenes were pretty good. And the Sam Wilson, actually, I'm just gonna say that straight up. The gate, Anthony Mackie and Sam Wilson killed it in this movie. Harrison Ford was very well and acted very well in this, and Joaquin, as you were just talking about him before, was definitely sold me over on kind of like wanting to see him more in future stuff. So overall, I thought it was a pretty good movie. I gave it a little harsh rating for those who may have seen my Discord ratings. But it deserves some critique. Still a fun, great movie. Like I talked on the live, was able to see it with some friends I haven't seen movies with in a while, and that was just a blast getting to see it with them and hear their thoughts. And some of them hated it, which I could understand, but I also don't understand at the same time. So I'm excited to talk more about it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I kind of in some ways second that. I do think a little more I enjoyed it more so than you did. Um right off the bat, right? I think out of all three of us, I was probably the most high on it going into it based on the previews. And yeah, it stayed that way through for me throughout the entire film. Are there negatives? For sure. The plot, I think, is probably a little predictable, and that might be a negative for some. For me, I just think that's kind of the nature of the beast, and it is what it is. I will say there's maybe just one side character that I think was the weakest part of the film in Sabra. However, I don't think she necessarily hinders the movie in any kind of bad way. Controversy aside of her inclusion, but film wise, I don't think there's anything really necessarily wrong with her, but some might see that as a negative. But overall, I think I gave it and I still stand by it, 8 out of 10. Solid 8 out of 10. Like, we can talk about this all day. I think for myself, top 20 MCU movie, and I'm not even joking when I say that. It was really good. Like you said, and I think this is the one piece that people are kind of forgetting about. Captain America is your main character, and he is your main character in this movie through and through. At no point do you never feel like he's not. Sam Wilson feels like Sam Wilson, and he has stepped up to a point where he feels like Captain America. And it's awesome to see. Every time he's on the screen, he demands your attention because he's doing something interesting, saying something interesting, or interacting with the other characters in an interesting way. So if you go in with an open mind, I do think you're going to enjoy this movie. For me, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, well said, gentlemen. I think you guys touched on kind of the key points on this for those that had positive reviews. I thought it was interesting when we went back to our teaser trailer document. I think Spider Brando, you actually had said this, and when you had said it, it didn't stick with me. Of like, I didn't see it that way originally before the movie, and I think I was really harsh on the editing of the trailer and the visuals, and really questioned what the action would be. because it did feel very predictable in a lot of ways. And I think that's kind of reflected in the critic score versus the audience score. But again, it's a superhero movie, very entertaining movie. I think your guys' scores are right in the ballpark. But again, Spider-Man, I'm going to quote you on this one because you said you thought the trailer was really well done to showcase an action-packed political thriller. There's one scene in particular, the way that they added the text with the background, they had the White House pop up with the text and the visuals. Like, sometimes we see these trailers and we're like, okay, it's just marketing. They're just doing it. We saw the Red Hulk. Is he really going to be in it? Those types of things. I will say, taking that it's predictable, but going into the movie with an open mind gives you the opportunity to walk away with a really positive perspective on the story that they told. Because for as predictable as it is, and you're looking at a big wrestling fan, I mean, there are some scripted things. Like, we know what's going to happen in a lot of ways. There are still moments throughout the movie that make you go, wow, I wasn't expecting them to do what they did in this way. And I thought that they pulled some really unique things to the forefront and surrounded Sam with it to really make his movie his movie. And to steal Hero's line, sometimes the most obvious answer isn't the worst answer. And I think that really paid off in a lot of ways for this movie, to where you're like, okay, this is coming, but it's Sam. You know what I mean? So for those of you who kind of did some pre-work, did some homework, which Marvel people will be like, you don't need to see previous things. I actually would say go back now and watch some of these other pieces that Sam's a part of, because the movie overall feels like he owns it. Like, Sam has a lot of aura in this movie, and there are times where, like, you feel like you know him really well. And I would darn near say, in a very similar way, the way that you felt when you saw Cap on screen or Tony.
Mhm.
You're just like, this feels good. Like, this feels like an MCU movie. This is something that's interesting that I want to see catapult forward. I want to see Sam again. So I highly recommend. I mean, I give it a solid 8 out of 10 as well. There are definitely some pieces in it that I didn't hate anything in the movie. I thought I was going to hate things going into this. If you listen to our live in the course of this movie, I think I was really harsh on this, like really harsh on this, but more so on the MCU. I just think overall, there may be some moments to where you need to get to the next, and they didn't necessarily bridge those gaps. They just like skip the walking on the bridge part. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and sometimes for a lot of people that's refreshing. How many times we're anime fans were like, filler. I think that they took out a lot of filler in this movie and got you to the core parts of the story to make it feel smooth and cohesive. So there are a lot of risks what they included, or what they were going to include, that we knew going into this movie. But ultimately, the villains, the conflict, the action, the visuals were really good. And overall, I think the future for Sam Wilson and Falcon is super bright after this movie.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and I will definitely also say that this is the more we think about it, and the more we talk about it, and after kind of having the weekend to kind of mull the movie over, it's kind of a first of its kind in a way where, yeah, at no point in the MCU we've had projects where side characters kind of get their own main focus in a TV or a movie. For example, like Spider-Man Civil War was a side character, then you got him in Homecoming as his own. But here it really went from the sidekick becoming now the main hero. And I don't think the MCU has done something in that level like they did here. And I think they stuck the landing pretty well, where they play into Sam's history with all these characters that are in the film, and what that means to him, what that means to Captain America, the mantle itself, what that means for the US government. So I think they do a really good job of telling an emotional story for Sam. I know some people kind of take it doesn't connect to the modern MCU as being
Love.
changed
I
in
love
his
it.
name.
I love it. I love it.
I was hoping you were
I
gonna
love it.
start with it.
Forever you will. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can say that
sorry.
that name change
Sorry.
was on the fly.
That was
Yeah, that was good. Right?
love it.
Yeah, no. What I was saying though, oh man, it left.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Bro, that's the Captain Spider Brando effect. Like
Yeah,
everybody
man.
just loses their thing. Like, damn,
Yeah.
it's CSB.
Yeah.
Yes.
Either way, CSB is pretty good too.
It is
I
kind of
like
cool.
that.
I see SB.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah, no, just overall really cool to see. Oh, I remember. A lot of people kind of have, especially if you listen to the critics online, and I think a certain fan base of the internet kind of took what the modern MCU has lacked and thrown it onto this movie. And I think that's unfair to this movie because at no point did this movie try to market itself as something different or I don't think it's a spoiler, multiversal in a way, because at no point does this touch on that. This is very much a ground, not grounded, but it's rooted within what you see.
Earth based. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
And I think some people took those complaints of the greater MCU, threw it onto this, and I'm like, this is why that movie sucks. And this is not true because this does connect to the MCU. It just it connects backwards in giving us answers to questions we had since really the start of it.
2008.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does a really good job at showcasing, like, it's not telling you what's next, but it answered that question again to your point here that you had mentioned. And I think a good way to frame this of why I think overall it feels like a really strong MCU movie is, again, it does harken back to kind of some core elements that the Infinity Saga solid movies had in a lot of ways. But I think where Rhodey was a failure from Secret Invasion and the overall Secret Invasion, what they sold you on really didn't come to fruition. This was the opposite of that. And I think you have kind of that Captain America association elevate this story and potentially elevate the MCU moving forward, where a Rhodey, Iron Man, associated type characters, even Ironheart, those types of things that are kind of the, Cap and Tony were the top, right? They just were. And kind of the next generation for as long as the MCU has been doing this for almost 5 years now. I think Cap is the first one to really break through and stand side by side with the predecessor of that specific mantle to feel really strong moving forward. And I don't think anyone else has really done that. And the OGs really have kind of fallen down. I think Sam at this point now, again, non-spoiler, he feels like the best of the old MCU that exists in tomorrow's MCU. Maybe besides Strange.
How you phrase that? But
So
I have one question. Do you think that'll change come Thunderbolts with seeing Bucky again?
I think seeing it's a Wednesday. That's a Wednesday. That's a Wednesday. That's a Wednesday thought. Here's a non-spoiler thing. And I'm curious what you guys think because I think it's very relevant to this movie because a lot of people are like, it's self-contained. It doesn't do anything for the greater MCU. It does a lot for the short-term MCU. And I think that's important because, like Hero was saying, what Spider-Brando is referenced, like, it's not multiversal in this multiversal saga, but it's fulfilling a gap to make the grounded Earth-based characters feel really strong again, with really strong character narratives, really strong stories. And when I say strong stories, I'm not saying the most interesting plot or anything like that. I'm saying stories that make sense for the characters that are on screen in your title characters, which has been missing. Go to the Marvels. Kind of was a little messy in a lot of ways. Highly entertaining, but a little messy. And you're like, do I really want to see them again? I'm sure if I didn't, I think I'd be okay. I would not be okay if I didn't see Sam again. Just flat out. Period.
Yeah.
But this helps the Thunderbolts in ways I don't think any other movie could, because it was a hero facing a villain that he had no business fighting one-on-one. And the question was, we were talking about this when Cap's wings were slicing through the jet. Like, you didn't feel after Falcon and Winter Soldier that Cap is like, yeah, you have enough tech to go one-on-one with a Hulk. No, dude, you don't. But when you learn who Sam is as Captain America and what he stands for, I'd be like, yeah, I see how he won.
And maybe Captain Brando, this will kind of answer your question. I think that this movie did a lot to kind of get us excited for Thunderbolts, but it also kind of started before, if we think about it, where what if with the very first episode with the Mech Avengers thing did a very solid job of it in those quick 20, 25 minutes, giving you a Sam that you were like, holy crap, that's the Sam I want in the MCU. Wait, where's that?
Yeah.
Then we just had to wait. Really, next project, next movie, boom, that's the Sam we wanted.
And it's funny, real quick to that point though of this. It's funny going back and watching the final episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier because he just became Captain America in suit, and people were still like, "That's Cap. They're telling you they're Cap." But in this movie, when you hear people say he's Captain America, it feels like he's always been Captain America all along to me.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way. And that's not spoiling. It's literally, you get hammered with that in the first 5 minutes of the movie, period.
Yeah.
They pretty much established the movie's like 2 years post.
3
3 years, I think. Yeah. Before the movie that came out, they established that. So.
Yeah.
But so he's had that mantle for quite some time since the last time we saw him, and felt great to see Sam on screen again. What do you guys think of the suit, the final suit? I guess that's a spoiler. Nah, it wasn't the trailers, right?
I was gonna say it's all over the marketing.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's a great suit. Great suit.
Go check out our Captain America.
I saw the helmet for it. Or my theater was selling the popcorn bucket helmet of this suit. Oh, it looks so good.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll send you a picture to throw it in an ad.
They do it.
Mm-hmm,
they do a good job of just design-wise of conveying the story they're trying to tell, right? And this is intentional in the audio of the movie of the certain characters that we won't talk about today, but it will talk about in a spoiler section. Just everybody's design is very intentional. And everything about the movie is very intentional. There's one piece in particular that stands out to me that I noticed, and I saw some people on TikTok actually start pointing it out. But again, we'll talk about that in a spoiler on Wednesday. It's just very intentional, and I think that translates into the suits. It translates into the characters, and I love it. It's great to see.
Yeah, really, really solid piece. And I would leave, if watching this at this point. So 1, thank you, but 2, I would leave you with this. Really look at the movie from a standalone perspective about the character and try not to fill in the greater MCU puzzle while watching this. Because if you do, you will miss details of the movie that help make it feel a lot better than maybe people gave it credit for. But also I think it'll help it age pretty well because of the narratives of the Hulk 08 movies and the Eternals. The marketing from that perspective, I think, overinflated some ideas and thoughts going into it. But wait until the movie to kind of readdress those versus trying to pencil and paper it throughout. It'll help.
I will say, go watch our history of Sam Wilson comic chat also, because doing our research for Sam definitely made me appreciate what they showed on screen a lot more too.
I agree with that. Shout out Snap. Whoa.
I was gonna say, no.
But if you want to know what we're talking about, go watch the review.
Go watch that video.
It's actually very interesting.
Yeah. Captain America, Brave New World, 9 years between the last 2 Cap movies, which is genuinely insane to think about, and how crazy the MCU landscape is now. And the fact that this movie in the box office still did well, especially in an off month in
200
February.
mil worldwide.
Yeah. That's awesome to see. Either way, it still shows that the MCU is going strong. So for people that are out there preaching the MCU's dead, no, it's not. So take that as you will. But yeah. All right, everybody. So once again, thank you for joining us here at the Point 3 podcast, the Captain America Brave New World review. Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? What do you rate the film? Non-spoiler thoughts, comment them down below on this video. If you're watching this is coming out Wednesday. So later on tonight, or the day of this is dropping, we'll be doing a spoiler live stream tonight. So join us there. We'll talk about all our spoiler thoughts. And if you have some spoiler comments, drop it down on that live stream as well later on. But everybody, we have been your favorite trio of hosts. Thank you so much for joining us. Lou, Captain Spider Brando below me, and myself, Hero Scroll. There's 3 very important things that you need to keep doing until the next time that we see you. That is, you need to keep watching, you need to keep reading, and you need to keep nerding out. Have a great day, and thank you for watching.